Welcome to our podcast, Star Trek Age of Discovery. I'm Adele Austin Anderson.
And I am Gary Anderson.
And when we're a married couple who are longtime fans of Star Trek. Today on Star Trek Age of Discovery, we bring you a special podcast to catch you up on all the important Star Trek related news that has recently been released. This includes updates on Star Trek series and merchandise. Gary, why don't you begin?
Sure. So on Friday, as part of their programming during the Comic-Con at Home, Paramount Plus presented a 3-part panel covering animation that's going to be on the streaming service. 2 of the panels covered news of interest to Star Trek fans. Hosted by Lower Decks voice actor Jerry O'Connell, both panels were pre-recorded. Jerry commented on that he was taking on the role usually performed by Will Wheaton. According to Jerry, Will had a conflict that prohibited him from hosting the panels this time, something that became a running joke during the Lower Decks panel, since they felt compelled to needle him as often as possible.
The first panel featured a trailer, as well as the cast and creators of Star Trek Prodigy, which will stream on Paramount Plus later this year. No premiere date was provided, and we do not know if all the episodes will be dumped at once or if only one episode a week will be released, as is usually the case with the first run of a Star Trek series. For the show, Kate Mulgrew reprises her role as Captain Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. This time, she's a hologram who helps teach the new young crew how to navigate the cosmos in an experimental starship they find that's called the USS Protostar.
Prodigy takes place in the Delta Quadrant, where it follows the adventures of 6 young aliens escaping some form of imprisonment on a desolate mining planet. The lead characters are Dal, voiced by Brett Gray, and Gwen, voiced by Ella Purnell. They represent the introduction of 2 new alien species from the Delta Quadrant. Dal is a 17-year-old purple alien whose race hasn't been identified as of yet. According to the official blurb, he fancies himself a maverick, and he holds strong onto the unwavering hope even in the toughest of times. Gwen is also 17 and is a member of the Vau Nakat species. Her father runs the mining planet from which the others are escaping. Dal finds a Starfleet vessel, but it's unclear as to whether Gwen's motives for being on the ship are self-serving or not.
Other characters include Rock Tak of the Brikar species. That character is voiced by the youngest member of the cast, Riley Alisgraki. Veteran voice actor D. Bradley Baker voices Murph, an indestructible blob of an unknown species. British actor Angus Emery voices Zero, who is a Medusan. That's a non-corporeal, genderless, energy-based life form. Rounding out the cast is character actor and comedian Jason Mantzoukas as Jacob Pog, a 16-year-old Tellarite engineer.
The series regulars appeared on the panel along with the show's creators, executive producers, Kevin and Dan Hageman, their brothers, and director, co-executive producer Ben Hibon. If there was one theme echoed throughout the panel, it was that although Prodigy is aimed at engaging younger audiences to the world of the Star Trek universe, the show is not just for kids. Repeatedly, and I do mean this, repeatedly, the Hagemans and Hibon, as well as other members of the show, made comments designed to assure viewers that the show would be for all ages and would be enjoyable to watch, which from the trailer definitely has what we would call a cinematic quality for its production values.
Definitely.
What it reminded me of is the kind of quality that you see in the Star Wars cartoons, like Rebels, or in the Clone Wars, or the Bad Batch, which is running right now.
Following the Prodigy panel, the cast and creator of the more adult-focused animated series Star Trek Lower Decks debuted the full trailer for Season 2. The show will pick up with Ensign Boimler, voiced by Jack Quaid, aboard the USS Titan as captained by Will Riker, who you know is voiced by Jonathan Frakes. Boimler's former colleagues, Ensigns Mariner, Rutherford, and Tendi, continue to toil away on the USS Cerritos. Of course, these ensigns are portrayed by Tawny Newsome, Eugene Cordero, and Noel Wells. For the panel, Quaid, Cordero, and Newsome joined series creator and executive producer Mike McMahon for a half hour of playful banter among themselves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Only the trailer provided any substantive details on what to expect for the upcoming 10-episode season, which will premiere on Thursday, August 12th.
The trailer revealed 2 new guest stars for this upcoming season. Veteran Trek actor Jeffrey Combs, known for his work on Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, creates his 10th Star Trek character in Lower Decks as the voice of a HAL 9000 type evil computer. Star Trek Voyager's Robert Duncan McNeil is also shown reprising his role as Lieutenant Tom Paris on a commemorative plate, speaking to Boimler during a gas-induced hallucination. Also, the trailer included glimpses of a new character, Security Officer Lieutenant Kayshawn, a Temerian voiced by comic Carl Tart. You guys may recall Temerians were first introduced in the TNG episode Darmok, one of the best episodes of the series. Temerians converse using cultural metaphors. So you can imagine the possibilities for comedy arising from having a security officer using metaphors for which you don't even have the context of deciphering their meaning.
So I would say, Gary, if you had not listened to the panels yet, which you can find on YouTube.
Right, at the Paramount Plus channel.
Yeah, I would say that definitely I felt that the Prodigy panel was worth a listen. Not only, do you get to see the trailer, but also you get to meet the cast. And I found that they were really a great group of people. I mean, I'm really excited about seeing the show based on what I saw. Before, it was more of a curiosity, and I had already told myself, oh yeah, I'll watch it because it's a new Star Trek show, even though it's designed for kids. Mm-hmm. But I would say that the panel really piqued my interest, and I felt more of an attraction to it. Oh
yeah. I think that what they presented was a pretty compelling trailer that teased your interest and said, oh, I'll give this a try, which is different than the original sketchy outline that they sent out when they were talking about the formation of the show, that it was about a group of young alien kids that get together, they find a ship, and they take off on adventures. This seems to be a bit more structured. Like I said, they are imprisoned on this mining planet, so they're attempting to escape. Dahl is the one who has hope that he can change. He believes that he can escape. Nobody else on the planet seems to be able to think that they can accomplish that. And so he's somebody you can look at. He's a Delta species we haven't heard about before, which is new. The other thing I find interesting about the show is that although it takes place in the Delta Quadrant, we have this Starfleet ship that's there. We don't know how it got there, and it's fully functional. Everything seems to, right? And then on top of that, 3 of the alien species that are represented in the show are from the Alpha Quadrant. You got a Medusan, you got the Tellarite, and you have the Bricktar. Rock Talk is also from the Alpha Quadrant.
Right.
And so how did they end up there?
Right.
Since we're not traveling to the Delta, since from the last thing we know from Star Trek, according to Deep Space Nine, traveling to the Delta Quadrant is not that easy. That's why they're trying to get that's why they wanted the wormhole to work.
Right.
And so the question is, how are we, how did all these things from the Alpha Quadrant just pop up there?
Yep.
And so they're all elements of the show. So I think that makes it intriguing as well. And then the other wrinkle that I think is interesting is Gwen. If Gwen's father is running the mining planet, if he's the one who's oppressing them, then her presence on the ship could initially be to try to bring them back.
Right.
And then she might learn something about, concepts that she's not familiar with, or not something that a point of view that her father didn't share with her, that might change her behaviors. But so all of those are really interesting elements in the storyline, I think, that intrigue me to make me want to watch it.
Yeah, and I am also interested in what species, that we already know are there in the Delta Quadrant. Well, who are they going to meet, along their adventures? So, like, what legacy characters are going to be there? Right. And, there's probably a few legacy characters I hope they don't run into. You
mean like the Kazon?
Who I could never stand.
It's a race of people who have the worst hair.
The worst haircut like ever, So
there's they could run into some Talaxians. And I hope they don't run into the Vidians, because they just want to take your organs and your skin.
Right.
Replace their own.
And I hope in the first season they actually do not run into the Borg. It seems like, one day they will, depending on how many seasons this show could last.
Right.
But it seems like one day they will. But that's if this is aimed at kids, it's a family-centered show, that's a scary, it's hard to make the Borg, to me, seem family friendly. So,
Well, the same thing with the Vidians too.
Right. Exactly.
So I think you're right. I think there's again, because of what we do know about the Delta Quadrant, it intrigues us. There's still a lot of question marks because we don't know everything about the Delta Quadrant. I think it's intriguing. And I was not just making an offhand comment. The way the show was presented to me, it did remind me of Star Wars Rebels, in regards to following the adventures of a young male. This time you also have a strong female character that's also in the lead. And so I think that presents a kind of an interesting and entertaining TV show.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I am also glad that, that they cast as Dahl, they cast a young African-American actor. And so, I'm glad that they are making the Star Trek universe more diverse in that way.
Right. So you've got two co-leads, right? And you've got one of them that is portrayed by an African-American actor, which again, like you said, I think it broadens the show.
Yes.
And I think having Jason Mantzoukas there as playing the Tellurite, he's the perfect, if you're going to get a comic or comedic actor, he's the perfect one to do, because he will play all of the aspects of the traditional Tellurite, arrogant, also kind of combative, argumentative, but he'll also be funny.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I think we need to talk about Kate Mulgrew.
Absolutely.
Now, during the panel, she definitely had some
prescribed script comments that had to be gotten out there. That's true.
Definitely. She was given notes before they did the panel that it was her job to communicate. And so I don't blame her for that. That was part of her contract to actually publicize the show.
Right.
But what I did appreciate about her was that she seems really invested into the show, and that she's rooting for the other actors, the other younger actors, and that she wants this show to succeed. So it's not the case of somebody who, well, I'm just doing it because I'm getting a paycheck, or that, I'm at an age where it's hard for actresses my age to get work, so I'm just doing this. She really does seem like she wants to be in the show and that she's really having a good time with the show. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that if you were going to bring back another Star Trek lead to do a show, this was an interesting and I think potentially exciting way to bring back Catherine Janeway, because otherwise you have to deal with her as Vice Admiral as part of the Federation, and then that would be a brand new storyline. Yeah. But this is, I think, is a good way for her. She gets to mentor these kids, and she also gets to provide some services in regards to just story functions. I think that'll be helpful.
And so now let's talk a little bit about the other panel, which was the Lower Decks.
Yes.
So I would definitely say you really don't have to waste your time.
I don't know. It was enjoyable. I had a good time watching them. They enjoyed themselves.
Well, okay, let's put it like this.
Okay.
What I enjoy about panels that feature the Discovery cast is that obviously they love each other. I mean, that they really do have a connection with each other. Right. Even Michelle Yao, when we were listening to the Pod Directive and she was talking about her experience with Discovery, she really loves those people.
Yeah, she loves working with them.
And she loved that experience with them. But they can still get down to the nitty-gritty of the show.
Oh, that's true.
And they can really talk, intelligently about the show and about their craft and what it takes for them to create those characters. I do not find that true at all when the Lower Decks cast gets together. I mean, you can really tell, obviously, that they have built a relationship, even though it would be difficult because they're not all in the same room. When they first started Lower Decks, they were able to all be together.
Right.
But obviously, for the second season, they had to record separately. But they still, again, referring to the Pod Directive, when Jack Quaid was on that show. They talked about how he and Tawny would text each other all the time, like they do that today.
Right.
Even though they're not, obviously recording the show, they're both doing other projects, but they're really good friends. They became really good friends through this show. So for me, I thought some of the things that happened were funny. And, Rebecca Romaine, who is
Jerry O'Connell's wife.
Wife. And
talk about the fat guy from Stand By Me. He turned out okay.
Yeah. So he did well.
He did very well.
And
and Ethan Peck also showed up in the background.
Right. And so they accidentally walked in on Jerry while he was taping the panel. And so, they were able, so it was kind of nice to see them. Because it reminded you that, they're together for Strange New Worlds. And they happened, they were either rehearsing or whatever, or they were having lunch together. Who knows, why they were together. But it was nice to see them there.
Yeah. If I could interject, I think one of the challenges that the Lower Decks crew had, unlike the Prodigy crew had, Prodigy was introducing the show to us prior to the premiere of the show. I mean, there's nothing that we know about the show whatsoever. And so this was really an opportunity for us to get some information. The difference with Lower Decks is we've now had a season. We got an idea of the flair of the show. The show is filled with comedians or comic actors. And what you've got is, the overall tone of the show is irreverent and humorous. So, and on top of that, for this panel, I think they had already been given marching orders not to reveal a whole hell of a lot, because when the trailer showed the new security officer, Cajun, was a Temerian, Tawny announced that, oh, I didn't know if I could say that. And there it is right there in the trailer. So I don't know I think that they were apprehensive about saying anything pertinent about the show because they didn't really have the clearance to talk about the show. And so if you can't really talk about details other than the enjoyment of getting together, and what else did they have to say, right?
I think that they could have done more, and I don't fault Jerry O'Connell because he didn't hire himself. But I fought the preparation that was given, in that there were questions that could have been asked that they could have cleared ahead of time, and so they could have revealed certain things. And so I think giving away a few nuggets, and again preparing everybody so that they would have known better about what was going to be in the trailer and what they actually could talk about. And so, but instead it was a lot of, obviously they know each other,
right.
and they did a lot of jokes.
They made a lot of jokes at the they talked about each other's career and their credits. And there were a lot of running gags. The running gag about Will Wheaton not being able to do this, and so they had to settle with Jerry O'Connell. But that was just friendly needling.
And they had another gag about, oh, this is obituary information. Like at the end of your career, oh, it's going to be in your obituary.
Right.
And so yeah, it was funny the first time, but again, I can deal with needling and things like that if you also offer a little bit more substance, and that wasn't happening.
I was happy to see them all. I was happy to hear that they were excited about the upcoming season, and I think they were given marching orders, and I think that part of it was they weren't supposed to reveal anything, that the trailer was supposed to reveal all the stuff. So the trailer told us about the Temerian, the trailer told us about Robert Duncan McNeil guest appearance,
right?
And that Jeffrey Combs was going to be guest appearing. I don't think they wanted us to hear it coming from them prior to the trailer.
And so the trailer could have been shown at the beginning,
yeah,
like they do with other panels.
Well,
they say, "Oh, let's see the trailer first," and then they could have talked about things. And I think that would have set a different tone.
Well, we're not going to belabor this. We're not going to belabor
for the panel. But anyways, I will say that even after all of that,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, even after all of that, I thought the trailer was funny.
The trailer was hilarious. It got you excited about the upcoming season.
Yeah, they're going to continue on with the Easter eggs, because the trailer was full of Easter eggs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we didn't choose to put it into this podcast because they're going to be shown during the episode. Yeah. So at that time we can again talk about our favorite Easter egg. But it was chock full of Easter eggs, and that was just the trailer.
Right. And,
so
and the thing about McMahon that if you remember from the first season, he pulls from every corner of Star Trek canon. So and the thing that I'm very excited about is that he has a irreverent appreciation for the animated series. Yeah. So we get to see alien species that were only introduced in the animated series, never seen again, reoccur in Lower Decks. And so that's something else that we can anticipate. Yeah.
Definitely Mike McMahon is a Star Trek nerd, and
big time.
And I'm going to reference the podcast one more time. In the podcast, Tawny tells a story about how, she and him got off on talking about, some detail that Mike knew very well. Mm-hmm. And they talked on and on so long that, one of the managers had to say, hey, this is taking up time and money, that you, and I would like to hear Mike actually do that, to spend time talking about some really obscure thing. And I thought the panel could have been an opportunity for him to do that, and then everybody could have jumped on him and everything like that. But I like moments like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next subject that we're going to deal with.
Yeah, we want to just say a little bit about Section 31.
Yes.
You know, this was a show that I think Gary and I were both looking forward to. However, we believe we have more proof that the proposed Star Trek series, Section 31, has been further pushed back to the back burner or possibly shelved for the unforeseeable future.
Yeah.
It was recently announced the presumed star of Section 31, Michelle Yeoh, recently signed to join the cast of the prequel series The Witcher: Blood Origins. She also has upcoming feature roles in Marvel's Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, as well as Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yeah, she just appeared in that on Netflix.
Oh, okay. And multiple Avatar sequels.
Well, those are planned. None of them have been shot yet. let's get real about the Avatar sequels, shall we?
Well, so when one thinks about her busy schedule, whether or not it is really going to include Avatar,
Right.
And the fact that Alex Kurtzman has been mum on the subject for quite some time,
Right.
it appears unlikely that Section 31 will ever come to fruition.
And then if we add on top of that very busy schedule the fact that there's the possibility of a sequel to Crazy Rich Asians, that just adds more conflict to the schedule going forward as you know as Hollywood gets reopened.
Right. Because when would they be able to schedule, take her busy schedule
Right.
and be able to do a series?
And to be honest with you, there was lukewarm reaction to that series idea as opposed to, let's say, Strange New Worlds,
right,
or even Picard.
Right.
And so it may just die on the vine and just be scuttled, which is fine. I mean, I'm not dying to necessarily seeing a Section 31. I thought it would be an intriguing story. And more importantly, I was really interested in following the adventures of Philippa Giorgio from The Mirror.
Yeah.
That's what I was really interested in.
I agree with you. I was really interested in seeing her. I know there were many fans who had trouble about the way Section 31 was portrayed in the series.
Right, that's true.
They had an issue with, why do so many people know that Section 31 even exists?
When it was supposed to be a secretive agency.
Yeah. So anyways, we don't know. I would love for Michelle Yeoh to return to the Star Trek universe,
but we may have seen her last performance.
We may have seen that, right?
So who knows? Unless, of course, she pops up on Strange New Worlds,
or she's another character altogether.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, speaking of Strange New Worlds.
Yes, that wonderful segue, isn't it? So according to a tweet from Anson Mount on July 24th, principal photography for Strange New Worlds has been completed in Toronto. In his tweet, he wrote,
"And that's a season 1 main unit wrap. We owe some pickup shots, most of which will be tackled this fall. But the lion's share of our work is in the can. Thanks to our phenomenal crew, thanks to Toronto, and thanks to fans for being so patient. We will see you soon."
So at this point, there's no official premiere date that's been announced by Viacom CBS. But expectations are that Strange New Worlds will be available on Paramount Plus in 2022.
Yeah, so I know that both of us are really looking forward to the show.
Yeah, we both enjoyed his performance on Discovery's second season, and even in the little short treks that were done, and we want to see more.
Definitely. Okay, so our last subject for today has to do with merchandise. Yes, we are still months away from the Christmas season. However, we wanted to provide you with an update on Star Trek holiday ornaments created by Hallmark. First, the replica of La Sirena, the ship used in the Picard series, will be available on October 16th. The ornament includes sound.
Oh, good. Also, the popular Star Trek Storyteller Keepsake series is adding 2 more figures to the collection. As if you don't know, the Storyteller series features a replica of the original Star Trek starship Enterprise from the original series. The ship is connected to figures from the Mirror Universe, which light up and recite lines from the popular episode from TOS's second season. Last year, the figures that were released included Captain Kirk, Lieutenant Uhura, and Lieutenant Sulu. This year, 2 additional figures will be added that include the Mirror Spock and Ensign Chekhov. Spock can be purchased now, but Chekhov won't be available until October 16th. The figures must be connected to the Enterprise via a power cord to engage the sound and the light features, but you can hang them on the tree.
Right. So we have no stock in the Hallmark company.
No. But we really like this thing specifically.
Yeah. We purchased it last year
Yeah.
and really were quite pleased with it.
It was. It's kind of funny.
So we just wanted to let you know. I mean, it's not cheap, but if you have been looking at it and wondering, should I get it or not?
Get it.
Yeah, I would get it.
If you can afford it, get it.
If you can afford it, get it.
Okay, that's all we've got for this episode. However, we would like to remind you to share a link to Age of Discovery with friends who you think might enjoy the podcast and are fans of Star Trek as well.
So the next time you hear from us will be next month. We'll begin our regular weekly reviews of Lower Decks, as well as other Star Trek series that will soon follow. But until that time,
like, subscribe, and follow Star Trek Age of Discovery on Twitter, on Facebook, and at our website, StarTrekAOD.net. Also, email the show at StarTrekAOD@gmail.com. But until then,
live long and prosper.